Hey, good evening.
Hey, good evening. Good to see
How
you.
you doing? You too. How's
Look,
things?
things are okay.
Yeah.
Things are thinging,
You
you
wearing
know.
your Marvin Gaye hat?
Yo, it's so funny. Everybody's been saying, I always think the Marvin Gaye hat is more red, and this is like,
Hmm.
I have red hats that are like this, but
Hmm.
this is my orange one because it's fall and
Hmm.
festive.
Yeah. A friend of
Um,
mine has one just like that.
yeah, I don't know. It's a very nice hat. But yeah, shouts out to
Yeah.
my one of my favorite things of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah, his is a little bit more red, but I think it looks enough like it that it could pass.
Yeah, somebody, the one socially distant gig that I do that came back around was DJing at John George's Sky High restaurant in the Four Seasons. And
Nice.
I had a couple, I wore that hat last night. And this hat last night,
Nice.
I got a few of those. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah,
Well, thanks for joining me.
yeah.
This is Lara, aka the Sound Sommelier, here with Matthew Law. Matthew, what's your earliest memory of hip hop?
Um, that it's tough because my earliest would probably be like a rapper's delight type thing or something like that because they kind of had those elements on like PBS or something like that.
Mhm.
But the first time that I really like listened and enjoyed it and understood it as hip hop and not just rap
Nice.
was listening to what was it, West Side Mob, Breakdance Electric Boogie. It's like the like break dance and that has
Mhm.
the has the what's it called sample on it, the Incredible Bongo Band sample. I remember it's like one of the first records I bought when I was like 11 and 12, and because I was like into breaking and like everything like
Mhm.
that, and that was like the first memory that I can think of that was like true hip hop, like plenty of rap stuff, like growing up in the late like mid to late 90s in the 2000s with like DMX and like
Right.
Rough Riders were
But like
crazy
the
into me.
shift, yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
obviously State Prop and everything like that. But really, where I was like, oh, this is hip hop, like true
Mhm.
to form hip hop. It was the beat more than the rhyme in a lot of
Right.
ways. Yeah.
Nice. That's a new answer for me. I like it.
There you go.
Um, so you've shared that when you were born, Fats Waller's Ain't Misbehavin' was playing. So I think it's safe to assume you come from a family that appreciates good music. Are there any records you remember from childhood that you still love today that you'd hear in your house?
It's interesting. My mom plays a lot of show like outside of like that style of jazz, like Etta James, Fats Waller, stuff like that. Um, and Duke Ellington. I think like Rhapsody in Blue and stuff like that. Like I remember that when I was younger. Uh, but the only funky record that was really played in the house was Aretha Franklin's Respect. So
Nice.
like that stuck with me, and I remember that. Outside of that, it was like my mom also was a French teacher, so she like was listening to French folk music, kind of. And my dad, he wasn't even into, and like there wasn't really any funk played in the house. Like
Mhm.
it was mainly that's why I think I attached to it so much because once I found the funk or whatever, it really became like my own thing, separate
Mhm.
from my parents.
Nice.
And because my dad was really into psychedelic rock, even though he's never gotten into psychedelics, but like I remember he was really about Jethro Tull and like kind of weird,
That
which
era.
makes sense because he's into
Mhm.
classical music as well. So like that flute slash
Right. The
rock.
vibe, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. So you, like Jazzy Jeff, Questlove, and King Britt, hail from West Philadelphia. After you started DJing, who did you look to as mentors or influences on the formation of your style?
Uh, well, definitely King, and definitely Jeff.
Hmm.
Jeff, I met a little bit later. When I first started DJing, I didn't really have immediate mentors. Like the first like 2 or 3 years. Actually, it's a funny story. Scheme probably won't be mad at me saying this now, but like Scheme Richards, we didn't get along for a little while because like when I was like 17, 18 years old, he didn't even remember, but it was like maybe I was 19 maybe because it was around the time I actually got Serato because I was DJing 4 or 5 years before then.
Okay.
And buying vinyl and stuff. And I asked him like, "Hey, can we go digging sometimes?" Like, "No, dog, you a Serato DJ." And I had it like for like 4 months. It was ridiculous. Like we're cool now, but it was just like
Mhm.
it was wild. Um, so yeah, so wait, what was the question again? Oh yeah, all right. So
Like
sorry.
just mentors. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So by the time I was like 17, 18, and coming out of high school, there was the first real DJ mentor I can think of having was DJ Brother Jamar, who passed away, might have been like 7 or 8 years now. Um, Rest in peace. But he found me at like a art show that I was DJing and also breaking at. This is kind of weird. Like I played a set and then was breaking like with my crew at the time, and he brought me into a lot of the scene. Not really like a scene, but like like kind of the Philadelphia, like some of the stuff with the Philadelphia music scene. I think like he brought me on to Tiffany Bacon's Inner City show that was on Power 99. That was all about like neo soul and funk and stuff like that. When I was like 18, I played a set on there. And then probably 18, 19 is when I met everyone at IllVibe. And then it became like me and, Mr. Sonny James, back then DJ Static running heavy, Lil Dave, and like then they introduced me to Rich Medina. And then around like it kind of all happened around like 19, 20, 21 was like when I got cool with all of IllVibe, Rich, and King. And that became like my kind of Mount Rushmore at the time of like people who were really looking out.
Nice. So you mentioned IllVibe. The IllVibe Collective is a DJ and production team hailing from Philadelphia that was founded in 2000. What was it about their production style and work ethic that led you to joining the group in 2011?
Interestingly enough, it was the synergy really came less from production and more from just musical mindset. I think I was at an age where I started realizing that the music that I was into didn't really have a space for my age group all the time. And because I was like much like I'm 8 or 9 years younger than Sonny, and it being around them solidified a lot of what I felt in my heart to be true about what I considered like the best music or whatever. And they were already into it, and they were coming up in it when when it was happening or whatever, and I was like next in line in so many ways to kind of carry that torch. And that was really what brought us together. And interestingly enough, they asked me to join the crew in 2009, but like a soft ass, like, yo, if you're down, like we got you. And I was like, but that was when I was building my own stuff as DJ Fish. And maybe it's a tourist in me and I take my time or whatever, but I told them, I was like, yo, let me build my own lane, like my own stuff first, because I'm not just trying to be like the IllVibe youngin. Like, let me come in and put in some work and make sure that I'm coming to the table with something besides just a fresh voice.
Nice.
And in 2011, right before my first tour in Germany, my first solo tour in Germany, I joined the crew. We had a big party at Body Rock at Kung Fu Necktie. It was great. Kung Fu Necktie is a venue in Philly. I mean, some people don't know. A lot of people don't know. But
how'd that tour come together?
The tour came together from a mutual friend at the time and DJ, San Gabriel, who used to live in Berlin. He had a party called Hip Hop Don't Stop and Live Demo, where when Sonny was touring with Bahamadia, he had played the party a few times. I think he played Live Demo and played Hip Hop Don't Stop. And Rich Medina went out there and, whenever he was in Europe, would play the party. So Gabriel was in Philly, or was playing gigs in New York and wanted to play a gig in Philly. I had him come through my party, Super Dope, at the time. This was 2010. He just had a great time. It wasn't super packed or anything like that, but he had a great time, and we kept in touch. And the following year, I came back out, or I went out there and I toured four or five cities. We also have a mutual friend, somebody that I went to, that was a foreign exchange student in my high school,
Oh, wow.
lives out there, or is from there, and
Mm-hmm.
we all kind of like, they're like extent like that. Her and her sister are like extended family for me, so it ended up being like a small world type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And August into maybe like early September, or maybe it was all of August. I can't remember. I just stayed in Germany, August 2011.
Nice.
I was there, just playing in a few different cities. So yeah,
I like it.
yeah,
Did you feel like a lot more people paid attention to your moves after earning the title of Red Bull Freestyle East Coast Champion in 2013?
yeah. But they probably would have paid even more attention if I kept that name. that was the that was the big like that was an interesting moment because like I won the East Coast Championship, then I went to nationals and placed third, and what ended up happening was I got new management. I was touring in Europe again that fall, and I was in Paris. I was playing some gigs in Paris, and I wanted to go to England, and I wanted to go to the UK and play some gigs. But when I
Mm-hmm.
was going by DJ Fish, the connect that I had at the time, all the people that he was reaching out to, they thought I was associated with the band. My last name's Fishman. Like it's
Right. I
not.
remember asking you where that name came from.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So they just didn't make the connection, and like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a big enough name at the time for it to be something where people wanted to take the time. So it it didn't pan out. But then thankfully I also have a middle name, which is Lawrence. So that's where the law came from. And I just started using my first name and part of my middle name. And that is,
I love it.
there it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So speaking of, I interviewed you before your set for the One Step Beyond dance party at American Museum of Natural History back in 2014, where I learned that you initially were known as DJ Fish. Do friends and fans still refer to you that way?
Yeah, I think people have adjusted now.
Mm-hmm.
There's people still like, it teeters back and forth in the IllVibe group chat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they call me Fish, sometimes they call me Matt. I don't really make that big a deal out of it, but I am kind of trying to put my foot down. It's not an ego thing or anything
No.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like there were people in the like like people who kind of feel like they know you and know something about you
Mm-hmm.
in a certain sense. They'll be like, I knew you when you were a Fish. It's like, and like
Yeah.
almost like my mom named me Fish. Like, no, my mom named me Matt. Like, you can call me by my first name, and you
Right.
would be closer to the real me per se.
Right. The name I want to go by. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. No, law is not for lawyer. I wish that at this point in the time space continuum we live in, where we're on lockdown, maybe a lawyer would be a better job. Who knows?
You probably wouldn't be as happy though.
I definitely wouldn't. No, I have lawyers in my family.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Jazzy Jeff has said that you are one of his favorite DJs, period. Was it overwhelming to be amongst the youngest DJ producers in attendance at the first playlist retreat back in 2015?
Yeah, I mean, it was overwhelming for a number of reasons. One of the things that I really appreciate about Jeff is that even though there were 40 people at his house, he really, I don't know if it's changed over the years, because like by the time we did it last year, it was like 120 people or something
Yeah.
like that. But for the first one, he really did take the chance to speak to everybody and really like talk to everybody about stuff and what they had going on. And that was the first time I met a few different people that I call close friends now. And it's really Yeah, it was humbling. Like, it was the first time I met Z-Trip, which was a big deal for me because before I could
Mm-hmm.
afford turntables, I got the scratch. Like, my dad for Christmas bought me like the scratch DVDs, like a scratch documentary that came with an extra disc, and the extra disc had like how to DJ with Z-Trip, right? So me and I don't know if you know Taku, yeah. So me
The
and
producer?
Taku, so we're there, like, in just like basement area studio, and we're like, yo, Z Trip, like, I pretty much told him, I was like, yo, you taught me how to DJ technically, because before I could even afford turntables, I at least knew how to mix and
Mm-hmm.
juggle and do stuff because of watching that. He was just like, yo, man, I was high as shit. Like, MTV came to my house, and like, I just threw it together. I was like, well, that was like super formative. And what was
Mm-hmm.
cool about that year too was, a few months later after that, myself, Questlove, Rich, and Z Trip did a Heineken Green Room at Output.
I remember that. Nice.
It was great. Were you there that night?
No, I couldn't get in.
What? Oh man,
The line was ridiculous. Yeah.
That was a great night.
Sound system is amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rest in peace, Output, and all clubs for the time being.
Yeah, all the people I've spoken to over the last few months who've gone to playlist retreats say that everyone they meet just becomes like family or friends that they can just call at any time. It's like
yeah. It's actually helped. It's helped with the radio show, like with Laws Lair Radio, because I was able, like I knew A-Track in passing before through Three Style, I think just Three Style, but because he came to the retreat last year, now, he reached out to me to do, the remix for his artist Hero and like all that stuff.
Oh,
like,
that's how that came together. Okay.
Yeah, he just like he DM'd me, and then like that worked out perfect. So. And now, we talk regularly, and I already knew other people like Nick Catch Dubs and people at Fool's Gold, but it just worked out. Like the playlist, it's so interesting because we're all really nerdy.
Everyone says they're just big nerds, yeah.
And it's great to like see nerdom at like that level.
Mm-hmm.
Like speaking, like A-Track in particular just posted like a photo of him on his IG with he just got an SP12 like SP1200, and like it's cool if you don't know what it is, but it's cool and nerdy if you do. And it's great.
I mean, then I'm a nerd because I'm not even a producer and I want an SP1200.
It's a beautiful machine.
I mean, I only know what it is because of Dilla, but yeah.
That's a good reason to know.
How has your experience in that space evolved over the years? Have you gone pretty much every year since, or just kind of?
Yeah, I've gone every year. The thing is, it's like it's kind of fluctuated because it's not. It's about the experience, and it's about the experience of being there. I actually enjoy the lectures the most out of everything. Like everybody, I mean, like they FaceTime or Skype. What's his? I always forget his first name, but is it Alan Lynn or whatever? Like the guy who created the Lynn drum, and then subsequently the 16 pads and the MPC. Like he made the MPC. So, and. Speaking with Bob Power or,
that would be incredible.
Kenny Gamble, like it's all that stuff. Like, I'm sitting here taking notes. And then like even people like Troy Carter when he was at Spotify or Tuma Basa for Apple Music, and like is a lot of that. And then building a relationship with, I don't even know if you can see, like I have like a lot of Roland gear, and that that relationship came from Playlist Retreat.
Nice.
Like I was already friends with Recluse, shouts out to producer, and also a guy who works for Roland. I was already friends with him because he used to work at Serato, but like I started building with the Roland team because of Playlist Retreat, and now like we're tight, and I use all that gear, and it's great.
Have you made any great relationships with people you've bunked with? That's what I hear people talk about all the time. Is like their roommates.
Who did I bunk? I'm trying to remember who I ended up bunking with last time. Cause like last, some people stay on like on campus because it's like joke around, call them Professor X. But some people stay on campus, and then some people stay in a hotel that's close. And for the most part, because I live close enough to Delaware, I wasn't staying. Last year was the first time that I stayed in the on campus. And I think I didn't really Scratch. I was bunking with DJ Scratch, who pretty much had his own room, so he just closed the door. And it was myself and Kiefer. And Kiefer was just like in the studio the whole time, or one of the studios, so I rarely saw him. But like, I've seen him like, over the years. I'm trying to think if like, not so much anybody like that I bunked with. I've been friends with Corey Towns like for 10 years now, because he used to work at Ubik on Walnut Street, and like literally, yeah, right. Yeah, I've been friends with him forever. So we spent a lot of time, because last year was the first time that he came and hung out. I think he stopped through before, but now that he's DJing, he came through, and I'm just trying to think of like, there's just so many people. This past year was a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
What's one of my favorite? I'll say this, and this isn't even for myself. One of my favorite playlist stories is the story of Stro Elliott, and Stro Elliott is pretty much in the Roots because of the first playlist retreat. And I remember because Quest and I had the same manager at the time, so we were doing gigs together and like whatever. And when he showed up, when Amir showed up, I introduced him to Stro Elliott and Joe Run Bombay. And like just walked up, I was like, "Yo, we were just talking about Stro. That's Stro right there." He's like, "That's Stro right there." Like, "That's Stro right there." And he just went up.
Is Stro from Philly too?
Nah, he's from the West Coast, I think. I don't know. I should ask him. I forget. But I remember he was in the group, the Percussions, and so I knew him from that. And obviously all his production, like I played Soul to Stro and Three Style, so it worked out. But now he's in the Roots because of that connection at Playlist, and Jeff is really. Yeah, he's pulled together an amazing extended family, for real.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always tell people if I could be a fly on the wall. So I've yet to speak with anyone who's attended one of Heidi Klum's famous Halloween parties. How did that compare to other private events that you've played at?
It was the top 4 or something like that. I don't know. That was an interesting night because
how'd that come about?
My manager at the time. So like it's there was a point where I was just opening for Questlove for pretty much everything he was doing in New York or Philly.
Right. I think that's what you were doing at the museum too.
Yeah, One Step Beyond, exactly. Who was I always forget his name. Who's the guy who who threw those parties?
Oh, I wouldn't be able to say. I knew them, but I can't remember now.
I forget. But yeah, I just saw him pop up the other day. That's why I was just thinking about it. But yeah, actually, this is the first time I met Neil Armstrong. Was that night at One Step Beyond, and now we're homies. Like, even though he just moved to Tokyo, but
yeah, I ran into him at Donuts or Forever in February, and I was just talking to him about how I was like, "Oh, I interviewed you at that show," and he's like, "Oh shit, I remember that." So that's why he was like one of the first people I interviewed on here.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. So that was cool. We played together in Jersey City at like a few different things. He's just really always a nice guy. But Heidi Klum. So yeah, it came about because of my manager at the time, who always also managed Quest, and I almost got booted off of that gig 45 minutes before I was supposed to play because Joe Jonas wanted to DJ. So I got like a text or like a phone call something like that. I don't know, from my manager, and was just like, so here's the issue. You're there. I'm already there. So like, cause I'm someone who shows up mad early to every gig. Like I don't,
That's respectful.
especially those type of gigs. Like I'm gonna show up, even if I have to stay in the back. Like I just want to make sure everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so yeah, Joe Jonas wants to DJ, and they didn't really say how long he was gonna DJ for. So you're still gonna get paid, but you might get bumped. And I was just like, that's pretty whack. Like, so Joe Jonas is there with like, he's dressed up as what's his name from what's Ben Stiller's character?
Oh, Zoolander.
Zoolander. He's dressed up as Derek Zoolander. He's on a BlackBerry, and like he'll like drop. I just remember this like vividly. He would drop a song, kind of blend it a little bit, and then just not even, yo, why not? What's good, bro? Like he would blend it a little bit and not really do anything. Like he would just sit there, and then like while all that was going on, Variety, Vogue, everybody's like click, 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 click. Like everybody's taking photos of him and everything like that. I remember the first thing that I did when I got on was first thing I did when I got on was I played the Vincent Price laugh from from Thriller, and just like, and then scratched just a little bit, and everybody who was on the floor, like I think it was like Estelle and like Zoe Kravitz and like I don't know, like whoever was at this thing, everybody's like all eyes on me now. I was like, oh, gotta show out, and I ended up only playing for like an hour, but it was a fun set.
An hour's not that short.
Yeah, definitely not for that. And they just wanted it to be a situation, which I think was kind of whack. They wanted it was like a situation where they were like, oh, like, because I guess Quest had been doing it for a couple years. So because of the way they have everything set up, when Heidi shows up, Quest has to be on.
Oh, okay.
But apparently, I guess, I don't know if she heard me or didn't hear me, and she was just being nice. She came up to me afterwards, like while I was just chilling. She was like, oh my God, you did so great earlier. Dance with me. And she was dressed up as a giant monarch butterfly. And I was terrified because she got like real like effects, like cinema effects.
Wow.
People like, and so like she doesn't look human. Like this is how like she went in. But it was cool. She was super nice, and like I don't know if it was her husband or whatever. Like they were all like, that whole entire circle was really, really friendly. But that was a pretty solid gig. My number one gig, like private event gig of all time, is the after party for the 40th anniversary of SNL. That was
nice.
The only time I ever saw Prince live. I technically opened for him. Well, not even technically, but yeah.
I've heard stories about that party.
That was the first. I was like saying that because you find out who all the people who were there, but the first people to walk in that giant hall were George Lucas and Paul McCartney, and seeing them walk around confused with like like spring rolls like in their hand or whatever was really like it was just a funny experience. But that was also like a thing where people were super nice.
Yeah, I think it was, I think I heard maybe on The Tonight Show or something, Jimmy and Questlove talking about, like, after everyone had left, how Prince just kind of hung out and got on stage, and it was just, like, a small group of people.
Yep.
How did you and Wajid link up for his Detroit Love Volume 3 Mixed by Wajid release? So
Wajid has also been, like, an acquaintance and friend for about, hey, what's up? So Marquise, for like probably 10 years now too. I met Wajid at a Brooklyn loft party that Mr. Sonny James and his friend Veronica used to throw a joint birthday party at this loft. Ironically enough, the loft is where one of the founders of Everyday People,
okay,
Sinclair, it's his loft. And I was like, so I've like pretty much been around. Like it was super weird.
Your whole life is like small world stories.
It really is. And it's like these small circles, but they're all galvanized around the best music. So like, you know, there was a one night where it was me, I was DJing, it was me, Rich, at this birthday party, me, Rich, or maybe Rich wasn't DJing. It was me, I know it was me, Sonny, and Spinna.
Nice.
And Wajid was there, Coltrane was there. Trying to think who else was like name wise. I don't know. But yeah, I got his email. I didn't even get his number. I got his email. And this was like 2010, and I was 2009, 2010. And I was like, yo man, can you like teach me how to like give me some pointers on making beats and stuff? He was like, nah dog, you good.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, all right, you know, like, and I took it with a grain of salt. But then every time I saw him, which was like, you know, over the 10 years or so, like, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 times, he'd be like, what's up with the music, bro? What's up with the music? And he would just keep on telling me. And I probably owe him an EP at this point, like at the very least, which I don't know. I just need to keep on working, you know. MC Elixir was good. But yeah, that it kind of just came together. He reached out and was like, yo, I'm putting together this compilation for K7 and for Carl Craig. And do you have anything? Like, do you have anything on deck? And I was at my friend's crib in Brooklyn DJing that weekend, and he hit me up on like a Friday, and I got it to him on Sunday and mixed it in just some headphones and stuff. And it ended up being not just on the digital release, but pressed on the vinyl. So that's the first time I've not the first time I've like anything I've made has been pressed up, but like the first like kind of big thing. Weird. I used to go to Dubspot. I went to Dubspot for Ableton classes back in 2015, and when, you know, RIP Dubspot, I used to go back and forth from Philly and New York, and my teacher at the time he was like, his name was Abe Duque. He made like techno, predominantly techno. He did some stuff for like the Pet Shop Boys in the 80s or something. Okay. Yeah, but super, super nice guy. He liked the direction I was going in, and he asked me to remix one of his tracks, and I did it, and he got it pressed up, and I have like the test pressing, but I don't know where the rest of it is. But yeah, if you ever find that, like, that'd be crazy. I hope I get to a level at some point where like people are like, yo, I have this, like this rare first.
I don't see that not happening. You're still young.
That indeed.
So you've worked with a host of brands, including Serato, Adidas, Spotify. How important have brand partnerships been to those involved in the music industries in recent years?
I mean, you know, hip hop is synonymous, and music in general is synonymous with a lot of the, you know, the brands that you just mentioned. I mean, Serato is the industry standard, so you can't really, like, you know, the only rival was Tractor, but it wasn't really. It was kind of like a Nike, Adidas,
right,
like type of thing. Shouts out Serato. Actually, just did their Twitch stream 2 weeks ago.
Sorry,
got 20,000 people watching that thing at a time, which was crazy. That was crazy. So shouts out to Mr. Sonny James and the whole Serato crew for having me on there. But yeah, I think it's important, but I don't necessarily think it's important for any creative reasons. I mean, anything when it comes to brands and branding will subsequently give you access. Like, you know, you work with a certain brand, you're in front of certain people, and then you're able to get certain gigs based on being in front of those people. But all that stuff is kind of weird and convoluted now, depending on what you've already done in the physical space. Because right now, like working with a brand in the digital space, like if you're just coming up, it might get overlooked because like things are just moving so fast. So you know, I think it's important, but it depends on where you're at in your career. You know what I mean?
I can understand that.
Yeah.
So your Friends and Fam, aka FNF parties, kicked off 7 years ago in Philly and have found a second home in NYC in past years as well. How has it evolved? And Is it
Well,
gonna survive?
that's actually thankfully my partner Simone just got us these really comprehensive planners, and that has helped me figure out what it will look like to survive. Hey, Malibu Kelly Shapiro. um, the the goal is to really amplify the story of community over this next 7 year period. You know what I mean? Like we're it'll be 7 years this December, and obviously put a the COVID put a wrench in
Right.
that. But for me, it's like the third iteration of the same concept of community that I've been trying to build for so many years. Like Super Dope started out, it was the same thing. Fish Tank was a little bit different because it involved the art, the art gallery element.
Right.
But and Friends and Fam was like trying to, you know, that's funny. Marquise, who's in here right now, he met his wife. He sang Friends and Fam. We met his wife at Super Dope, which is the original. And
I think I just read the story about. Was that posted somewhere?
That's him right there. Yes. When
Crazy.
I told that story, that's him right there. Him and my friend Morgan met thanks to Queen Joe, who now hosts Friends and Fam. Met at the party. I DJ'd their wedding, and then like last year, they run up with their daughter while I'm playing Stevie.
Amazing.
And I'm like about to cry. So that's.
I love that you said that you're like, I can't really take credit, but I was like, you kind of can.
I mean, the music was there, but but that goes back to the sense of community, because Queen Joe's always been a part of like this extended community that we kind of started with Super Dope and build it within what was at the time the downtown Philadelphia creative scene. So as far as things moving forward, I try to find a healthy balance between being nostalgic but also not nostalgic to stay in the same place, which I don't even know if that's a proper use of the word, but just like making sure that we remember where we come from, so we're being able to move forward and go with the foundation that would help us be at our best. Yeah. So when I think about Friends and Fam, even just some of the photos and video from it, like really once we get on a roll of like posting that stuff throughout the end of the year and like next year and stuff, and figuring out how to even bringing up like some of the old mixes and stuff like that. And I really think that it'll I mean, the party itself already kind of had, like, I've had people DM me and be like, yo, when are you bringing it back? Because it like has legs of its own in that way. But I think I want to properly encapsulate people's memories and not sell it short. So that's kind of why I didn't even feel comfortable bringing it into a digital space, because I felt like it doesn't do it justice.
Right.
So
yeah, there's something to be said about keeping the memories fresh. So I think
right. Like just making, that was the thing with Super Dope. The first year we were at One at Rittenhouse, which used to be the Mansion, and like it was every Wednesday, and it was from like I played from 10 to 3:30 and only had 3 guests, like ever, including DJ Sega, who I just was involved with the article about. But then by the fall of that year and into 2010, we moved to Raven Lounge, which was a lot smaller and didn't really have the same energy. And I think there's something to be said about really being able to capture and hold on to a certain kind of energy.
For sure.
And don't try to shove it into a smaller platform. You know what I mean?
I agree. How soon after the pandemic hit did you come up with the idea for Law's Lair Radio?
3 days.
All right.
I mean, well, pandemic hit or quarantine hit?
Quarantine. Good.
Yeah.
Good edit.
Yeah, as far as quarantine, I think lockdown came like March 17th or something like that. I think was the last gig that I played. And then by like March 20th, I, started setting stuff up on IG Live with my partner Simone, doing like, projections and setting that up that way. And that's how it started. And originally I was just like, I didn't know how long quarantine was going to be. So I was just like, I'm going to do this every day.
I started reading things. You're like, maybe next month. And I was like, oh.
I was like, I'm going to do this every day. And I was just like, I didn't play every day for people when I was out. Why would I do this to myself? So it really became important for there to be a structure, and with the graphic help and just like the overall help that Simone's given as far as creative direction for the show. And now we have Fiction Frank doing some more visuals. Now that we're on Mixcloud Live, it's just grown, and it's going to continue to grow. I really just honestly feel like this is the space where I can be my most creative self. As there's no not saying that I have a problem with like turning up at 12:30 and dropping Drake and whatever, but it kind of feels, and this, I might be the only one who it feels counterintuitive to the times that we live in right now. Like, I'm not trying to escape, the escapism is at least an iota of the reason that we've gotten to this point. And I think it's really important just to use the music that I want to create, as well as the music that I want to promote, as a force for change, and just to kind of stand my ground as far as what I believe in,
Right.
So yeah.
I respect that. What can listeners expect from season 3, which kicked off last month on Mixcloud?
So yeah, actually it kicked off was it last month?
I always say last month because it's November 1st.
Yeah, it's November 1st. I was like, wait, what? Some more interviews. It's been definitely trying to get some more interviews in. Just more. I've been teetering around playing more vinyl, like more of the records that I have. But really, it's just I think I've settled into a place of really. It's weird. Like I always, when I started the show and when I was thinking about like expanding, like I was looking up to like Benji B and like Charles Peterson and like people along those lines. And shouts out to Benji. Actually, speaking of friends and fam, only Philly party he's ever played with friends and fam. In 2 cities. He played it in Miami too. But
wait, you have friends and fam in Miami too?
Yeah, we did friends and fam in New York and Miami, as well as Philly. A few times in Miami and a few times in New York. So I think if I want to like put it into one word or like one phrase, is I think season 3 is going to solidify it as like a specialist show. I think like having like a specialist radio show where it's like you can get all kinds of different type of stuff, but like you trust the DJ to really have that taste. I think that's important because you need those kind of. I'm existing as a piece to be able to present that music to people, and I think season 3 is me rising to the occasion, pretty much.
Nice. Yeah, I think your setup with the interviews and the music is pretty rare. I don't see a lot of shows doing that.
Thank you.
As someone who tours extensively throughout the year, how has quarantine and the pandemic altered your plan for 2020 and likely next year as well?
I mean, send my ass down, I guess. Just focusing more on production. A lot of the touring that I've done, whether it's been with like rap groups or whatever, or solo, outside of like specifically like Paris or Jakarta for some reason, like in Indonesia, for the most part I get like booked for like hip hop stuff, and hip hop stuff changed a lot over the years.
Right.
So it's like, even in Germany, I remember like the first year I could play like Gangstar next to Beyonce and people wouldn't bat an eye. They're like, the beat's hot, it's all good. And then the next year it was just like, why aren't you playing any Rick Ross? And it was like, I mean, Rick is crazy lyricist, but like
Right.
it's a energy shift, you know. And then when I started DJing in China, it's like a whole different thing, because China is just like, because certain parts of American culture is like so isolated, and even like predominantly Black culture. It kind of, the last time I played out there and I was playing in Beijing, like it just felt like an EDM club, but they just switched EDM out for hip hop or like, you know, trap.
Right.
And I was like, this is not what I should be here for. And I kind of like, you know, made a promise to myself that if and when I do go back out, yo, what up, Corn? If and when I do go back out there, I'm going back out there for the things that I'm putting my foot down about now, which is like the music I'm creating and the show, the radio show. You know, I think that, and not saying that like I'm gonna go out there and play exactly like I do on Laws Lair. You know, I can adjust it. I'm a club DJ. Like I can make the adjustments. But yeah, it's
You're not gonna sacrifice a lot.
You say what?
You're not gonna sacrifice as much.
Yeah, I don't think I kind of think like if I continue to sacrifice, it's just in that way, it's just a slippery slope. And once again, like in the times that we live in right now, like what message am I really trying to push?
Right.
You know?
So one constant in your Instagram post is the strength of your relationship with Simone, who you've mentioned a couple times. As two creatives, how have you managed to keep each other grounded during this time?
That's a good question, babe.
She can come on too if you want her to.
she is editing video right now like a boss on a Sunday.
Can't stop.
We are in so many ways like creative equals. I would say, but like I don't know if I've had another like driving force in my life. Like it's like don't be getting choked up. I see you over there. Yes, I am editing. I ain't doing nothing. No, but like, you know, as a I talk about this with Queen Joe sometimes. Like Tauruses, we like to get comfortable, and she does a good job of keeping me comfortable by breaking me out of my comfort zone, and like making sure that, you know, everything is like even before we got on this chat, like she was like, "Is the lighting okay?" Because it's like we got the GVM lights ready if we need to get down. I'm like, no, it's IG Live. It's super compressed. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So,
people run the gamut on here. Yeah,
it's true. I've seen some crazy lighting setups, but I was, you know, want to keep it chill. But no, I think, it's a rare occurrence to have someone like, you know, to be able to love someone that you also can work with. And we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. Like
I was just gonna bring that up. I cannot believe you guys have only been together for a year.
And our friends say that, which is crazy. So like that says a lot about like the red string of fate of us coming together. So that's
pretty much so.
Yeah.
So where did the idea for Dillas Disco come from?
I went through a batch of Dilla unreleased beats that I had, and I was like, yo, this, I know the original sample. It's like a For the Love of Money cover. I was like, yo, but the way he crunched this, probably in an SP, like an SP 1200 or something, like it sounds so good. And I was like, oh, I need to flip this. And I didn't really think it was gonna be anything. Like I was just like, I'm not gonna put it out. Like this is gonna be something for me. And I'm just messing around. And I gave it to, I don't know if I gave it to DJ Marvel or I gave it to Cut Corners, both from Vancouver. But Cut Corners DM me, was like, bro, like put put this out. Like, what's wrong with you? I was just like, I guess. I was like, whatever, you know. It's like, all right, well, Cut Corner said it. He's a homie. Another person I met at Playlist Retreat, and someone worked for Serato. So I was like, oh, you know, it'd be cool. And then, you know, like right when I was about to put it out, Miles Medina played it on, because I think I gave it to Miles. He played it on his Fool's Gold stream.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the name? And Marvel played it on his Fool's Gold stream. And I might have played it on mine the other week, but I think I left it out because it's like already got played. But no, it's getting some love, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
How did you become involved with Philly Tech Week signature event in September?
I'm pretty sure it was Shovik at Red Bull. not too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you know, just working with good people.
Nice.
You know.
So what have you been listening to most often in recent months?
My records. I don't know. I was listening to Ronnie Laws and Bonobo today. I don't know. Like it really varies. Like if I'm
so you're not like sticking with one specific style.
I think if I was sticking with something. Oh, I really like Toki Monster's project. Toki Monster's album was really good. It was like a nice mix of, which is interesting because a lot of it reminds me of Bonobo or Bonobo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was really good. I think I stuck to that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
So you released several remixes in the last 6 months or so, including one for your own track, No Idea, and Sir's Neo and Trinity, and Hero's Crybaby that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Do you have any other projects in the works that you'd like to share?
So Unturned, which the track that I released last week, Sunday. Yeah, last week. Mm-hmm. That is the first single off of the EP I'm working on for late winter, early spring. So that is one project. The goal is to just take 2021 like by storm and, you know, just be in here, just tapping away and just going for it. Because it's been long enough, and I think I finally, with the releases that I have put out this year and the remixes and stuff like that, I've kind of at least solidified a tempo, if not necessarily a complete sound. So, like, at least people won't be like, oh, he's just a dude that, you know, like, he likes the real hip-hop, or he likes, you know, like, whatever. It's like, no, I like all this stuff, but I think the music that I'm producing now actually brings me full circle to what we started talking about, like, my first experience with hip-hop with West Side Mob breakdance. Like, that song and breaking was like the reason why I got into hip hop. It was like really because I was dancing and stuff. Right. So making dance music makes sense for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
My last question is, you just spoke about Unturned. Your latest single, Unturned, dropped earlier this week, which you've said was written in response to more than just our current shit show of an administration. It is a call to action to dismantle all forms of fascist regimes. Once we burn out the lights of systemic oppression, we'll be able to create room for new and better systems to be put in its place. Were you surprised by the response from both the media as well as residents across the country to the violent acts of blatant racial prejudice which have taken place in this country since the murder of George Floyd in May?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, like, that's the honest answer is, like, part of where we're at in media is kind of like, all right, so I'll tell you, Unturned came from a theory that I have. And the theory is that even if it wasn't entirely the set in stone, that this element was at least used in a way that Trump was able to get elected, which is the Hollywood writer's strike of 2007, 2008. Mm-hmm. And with that time period, like shows, like big networks that had, like NBC that had Heroes and things like that, had to put all their chips into shows like The Apprentice. And that kind of built before nobody ever really, outside of like maybe if you bought like the deal, like the art of the deal or something like that, you never really got to look into his process and personality for longer than 20 minutes, maybe in an interview or like photos and stuff like that. But now he has a show and a catchphrase. And for, you know, people who, you know, I think that he became America's sweetheart. And it's funny because like King and I were on the phone the other day and we were talking about, he was like, yo, I love that show when it was on. And it's like one of those things.
A lot of people did.
Like, you never think that this fool is going to become fucking president, you know? So that's where it kind of when I said burn Hollywood, burn, then Hollywood got the White House. That's where that came from. But, you know, most recently, like I live in West Philly, and Walter Wallace Jr. was just murdered days ago, and by, you know, two cops, just two white cops, but like regardless of race, like not of the neighborhood, you know, like they're not stationing cops of the, you know, that are from the community, which is one of the major issues outside of the history of policing. Like that, like that's a major issue, that people can come into your neighborhood, point a gun at you, and not know or care a bit about you. So I think the media can only do so much, especially with how deep everything has gotten, and how, you know, like seeing the campaign ads wash across my screen on YouTube and stuff like that. It's like, it's just a mess. It's just a mess, you know? And I think it's almost like, it's a great question to ask, but it's almost hard for me to even really, really speak on, because specifically during this time, the tensions are that high.
Right.
And like the tension itself is just like, this is why I'm like sitting here sipping tea. I'm just like, I actually really like tea, but, but
especially when it's cooler out.
Exactly, right.
But no, just along those lines, it's I've asked similar questions to everyone that I've spoken to, and it's always difficult to really phrase it in a way that's either not going to come across as ignorant or put someone in an awkward place. I just want to give people the opportunity to kind of share how they've been feeling, not necessarily make them feel like they need to speak for all black people.
All around Philly, and predominantly in West Philly, there's signs that are being put up that says vote in red, and then make a plan right underneath of it. And I think I'm at the make a plan stage. Like, what is really going to happen? So that's all it is, you know, fail to plan if you don't, you know.
Yeah. Cause I've spoken to people who say like, yes, we're in the media, we're in, like, people can hear us and see us, but it's really not up to us to fix what's happening. It's
right. There's that too, but yeah.
Right. Well, I appreciate you for taking the time so much. Is there anything you want to add or promote?
Lair Radio, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Mixcloud Live. More music to come. More.
Oh, how can people find out about new stuff? Instagram?
Instagram. We're rebuilding my website right now, but like normally Instagram and Twitter are the easiest ways. So there's at Matthew Law Official, and on Twitter it's Matthew Law _. And that's pretty much it. I think we hit that hour. Like I'm like looking at the time.
Oh yeah. I always look at the time because I'm like, a lot of times we go over and I have to be like, just to let you know, we might have to restart.
Yeah. So
no, I appreciate you. And I hope you have a good Sunday and that your week goes well.
Thanks for having me.
Matthew, have a good one.
All right, you too.
Bye.